Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I got this Dirt Tricks timing chain tensioner for KTM 4-stroke models, and I'm going to show you how to put it in. So this particular timing chain tensioner fits, this is a 250 here, it fits 13 through current 250 SXF, and mine's a 22, so it fits. And what the role these do is they replace the stock timing chain tensioner, which is possible to have some problems. The stock ones rely solely on oil pressure to tension your timing chain. This one has a backup ratcheting mechanism in here, so you can see it's free. There's a spring that goes in here, and it'll actually hold it out at its position. So when you start up in the morning and there's no oil to it, it won't do any ticking or anything. And I have heard of the stock ones failing. Not sure how often that happens, but we're just going to prevent any of that possibilities from happening by putting this in. So to start off, what we're going to want to do, I'm going to get in through the valve cover so I can make sure we're at top dead center. So I'm going to rip the seat off, the tank off, valve cover, and then I'll show you what to do from there. It's never a bad idea to blow some of the dust out of the valve cover area just so it doesn't fall into your motor. So we got the valve cover off here. As you can see, there's the two cams right there. Another reason I wanted to take the valve cover off is, one, to get it to top dead center, and then I also want to check the valve clearance, just because it's been some time since I was in here and I got all the shims and stuff. Might as well have it right. But as you can see, there's a yellow dot on this exhaust cam right here. Another one on the intake down there. I got to get them to line up basically right about here, and that's top dead center, so I'm gonna have to bump it over with the starter real quick and see if it gets to top dead center. If not, I'll have to pull the timing plug, which is right there, and spin it over with a wrench. Hopefully not, because oil might come out of there. So hopefully I can just bump it over here. Looks like I'm not going to be able to get it to top dead center, so I'm going to have to pull the timing plug, and we're going to tip the bike over so no oil comes out. I'll get that done real quick and I'll show you what top dead center actually looks like. Okay, so that's what top dead center looks like. You can see these two yellow dots are pretty much lined up here, and that's top dead center. Pistons at the top of its stroke. This would be when the spark plug would go off. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the timing chain tensioner, which is down here. I'll show you how to do that. So this cap here is 24 millimeters or 15/16. I don't have 24 mil, so I'll get it off here. Okay, so it should come out just like that, and there is the stock timing chain tensioner. Alright, so the stock timing chain tensioner here, basically how it works is it gets oil pressure from the oil pump, and it goes in through this back here. There's this little ball bearing check valve here. So it gets oil pressure, and then it pushes this rod out, which tensions the timing chain, pushes on the slider basically, which keeps the chain tight. And so for any reason, if you're to lose oil pressure, or say you just rebuilt the top end and there's no oil here, this thing will be slack. And right now it's not, it's engaged right now. It's full of oil and it can't move until I press in this ball bearing here. Once you press in that ball bearing, it'll lose its pressure and it will return. So this Dirt Tricks one here is the same concept. There's no check ball bearing here, but it's got this spring. So as you can see right now, it's loose. There's nothing holding it in, but as soon as I push this spring in, it flings out a couple dogs in there which hold it in place. I can push this as hard as I want and it won't go in any further. once I release the spring, it'll go in, so there's a little ratcheting mechanism in there. So the oil pressure is what tensions your timing chain, but the spring will aid it. So if you lose oil pressure at any time, it'll hold it. Or if you start up and it's dry, there won't be any ticking or anything. It just eliminates chance of failure by a mechanical mechanism instead of a hydraulic mechanism. It's both. It's got hydraulic and mechanical, so dual safety. It's a fail-proof right there. So that's why I got it. Not that there's anything wrong with this one, just wanted an upgrade over it and support the local boys. Dirt Tricks is about 15 minutes away from where I live, so it's good to support hometown guys. Machine everything here in the USA, in Nevada, so it's good to see some made in the USA stuff. Get it on the bike. And then this back cap here, you can see these holes. That's where the oil will get in, and it sits just in here like this with the spring, which goes inside of it like that. And so when it gets tension, it's tensioned, good to go. The oil will just push it out. So that's how this works. Pretty simple. And I would say if you have a KTM that's got some hours on it, can't hurt to throw this in as a fail-proof. You don't want to be out 20-30 miles and have this thing go bad for some reason. This will get you back to the truck. Okay, so I got the cam cap off. Cams are right here, and now I just gotta pull them out, and then I'll show you how I'm gonna do the shims. The exhaust side has about 0.05 mil of clearance, and I couldn't get any clearance on the intake side, but it's not real easy to get in there, especially with those really thin feeler gauges. So I'm gonna get a piece of wire to hold this chain up. I don't want to drop it down. You can, but I always like to hold it up. I can get one of these cams out. So here's the intake cam. You can see there is the crank vent. Kind of interesting idea to have it inside the cam. Makes it a little harder to work on, but no oil blow by, so that's good. Keeps the oil in the motor. Cam's still in excellent shape, so let's keep going. So I don't know how well you guys are gonna be able to see this, but we have these finger followers, I'm pretty sure that's what they're called, and the shims are right under them. Just get a magnet, pop them out, and there should be a thickness number on them. Might have worn off. These have been in for a while. Anyway, so you pop them out with the magnet real quick. I'm gonna go take them over to the bench, compare, see what sizes I need to get, and then throw them in. And then you got to put the cams back in, tighten it down, and see what clearance you got. Alright, so according to my measurement, it had 2.18 in it, 2.18. So I'm gonna throw in some 2.06 in all of them, and we'll go from there. Just want to be very careful when putting these things in. Don't want to have to pull the whole motor apart if you drop one of these down. And it doesn't hurt to put a little bit of assembly lube on all this stuff, just so when you go to fire it up, it is not dry in any way. And I always put a little bit in the cam journals too, just because it usually takes a while for oil to get up to the head. And hopefully those shims that I just put in will be good to go. I don't have to take any of this stuff apart again. Alright, so I got all the bolts and the cam cap back on. Now I just got to torque them all to 7.4 foot-pounds, or just 7.5. Round up with this torque wrench. It's not much. I'll do a little bit of a pattern here. So check the valve clearance. Get some feeler gauges here. And I already checked their inspect, so basically what you're going to do, you get a feeler gauge here, and you stick it in between the finger follower and the cam. It's hard to see on camera here. and they both check out. I'll throw up a picture of the clearances that you need to look for the intake and exhaust. They're both different. This thing checks out, the exhaust is on the upper range of it, and the intake's about right in the middle. But over time, as the valves get more worn out, that clearance will drop, and that's why you got to reshim. So that should be good for a while, and we're going to be checking this eventually, but it should be good for a long time. So to install this timing chain tensioner, you're going to want to make sure the end is all the way in. Stick it in the hole here, make sure it gets all the way in. You'll see the timing chain tension a little bit. And then you're going to want to take this back cap off, which I haven't done yet, and put this in. Thread this cap on here. And then you want to take this spring here, push it in through that cap we just took out, and then carefully you can put this cap back on, and it holds the whole assembly in place, just like so. Okay, so now that we got that in, timing chain is basically already tensioned with that little spring in there. Once it gets oil pressure, it'll go up to its full tension. So we're ready to throw this valve cover back on and get everything else finished up. You guys don't need to see me throw the rest of the bike back together, so I'll show you it running. All right, we got her all back together. Let's see how she sounds. Sounds good, running good. All right guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.